Hello again, everyone. This is Bob Pompiani. Welcome to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex here on the south side of Pittsburgh. It's playoff week in the National Football League, and the Steelers have qualified by winning their last 3 games to get to 10 wins, 7 losses. They had to win against Baltimore, and they did in messy conditions. 17-10, the big play there, a 71-yard connection between Mason Rudolph and Deontay Johnson in a game that was just nonstop rain the entire day. May serve well for what lies ahead in Buffalo. Who knows what the weather's going to be on Sunday in Orchard Park. But the bottom line is the Steelers are there. They take on Buffalo, which won the division by beating Miami, coming from behind to do so, 21-14 Sunday night down in Hard Rock Stadium. And the key to that was a punt return by Deontay Hardy, who took it 95 yards and really swung the momentum in that game as they, at one point, were 6-6. The Bills have won 5 in a row. The Steelers have won 3 in a row, so this is going to be quite a game coming up on Sunday in Buffalo. A lot to get into, including the injury to TJ Watt, plans looking ahead to this game against the Bills. 2 teams know each other very well. Mike Tomlin is set to address the media, so let's take you there.
Good afternoon. As always, I'll start with a quick synopsis of our last game. As I said after the game, I was really proud of the collective. I think there's growth associated with smiling in the face of adversity and rising up and doing what's required in significant moments, in significant venues, in significant games for individuals and for this collective. And so big time benefit, obviously, going into a hostile environment, a must-win circumstance, and doing what was required to win. But also was really pleased with our ability to deal with the elemental component of it. The elements were a major factor for both teams. Obviously, the ball security was challenging, but it was challenging for both. I just like the general spirit in which the guys played in the face of some of those things and the playmaking that was born out of that spirit of work in spite of some of those things that we outlined. We got the necessary help we needed, obviously. And so now we're in the tournament, man, and we turn our attentions on to this week. From a health perspective, I got a few things to report. Mika, will be limited at the early portions of the week. We'll let the amount of participation and the quality of his participation be our guide, but we're optimistic about his inclusion. TJ can be characterized as out this week with his knee injury. A couple of guys that were battling things, Landon Roberts, man, may be limited at the early portions of the week. And again, we'll let the amount of work and the quality of that work be our guide. As we get a guy like KZ back into the fold, we'll evaluate him from a conditioning perspective and define a division of labor for him as we push through the week. And so we got a number of those type things to deal with in terms of dividing the labor up. Won't be an issue. But it is something to push through. At the quarterback position, we'll stay with Mason Rudolph, much like in the spirit in which we worked a week ago. We just simply stand with the hot hand and not disrupting the apple cart. We've been in some tough circumstances. He's delivered, we've delivered, and so we will continue in that vein. And just in general, playoff football for us is about utilizing everyone in a helmet and being thoughtful and intentional about dividing the labor up, to making sure that we're working as a collective to lean on our strengths, to minimize our weakness in the effort to put our best foot forward. And so I can't say enough about that mindset, that perspective, that inclusive mindset in terms of all the people that are available to us. Over the last several weeks, we've talked quite a bit about guys like Miles Jack and Eric Rowe, and appropriately so. Their contributions have been significant, coupled with the fact that they didn't start this journey with us or with anybody. In some instances, their performances have been even more remarkable. We're thankful for that, but we're also thankful for the return of guys and like Mika and like KZ. And so if it creates a log jam in terms of talent or people available to us, then that is a good problem to have. It's a better problem to have than some of the issues that we've had in terms of trying to figure out who and how to play. And so we'll sort through some of those things, man, as we're game planning. We've got familiarity with Buffalo. We got familiarity with that venue. I'm sure they say similar things about us. It's January football. They have a lot of tape to digest and analyze and to prepare for, as do we. And so it's chess, not checkers this time of year. We're really excited about it. I'll start talking about them first offensively. If you're talking about slowing them down offensively, man, you start first and foremost with Josh Allen, who is just an incredible competitor. They utilize his talents and his competitive spirit very well. That can be displayed by their design run game in weighty moments, possession down, red zone situational moments. He's got 15 rushing touchdowns on the season. Boy, that is something to deal with. And so it's challenging. The mathematic or the schematic component of quarterback mobility, particularly from a design run standpoint, is really challenging, especially when you have the passing talents that he has and the arsenal of people to spread the ball around to. At running back, they've got really good quality depth. Cook is a 1,000-yard rusher. Fournette has brought a little thunder to that Lightning in recent weeks. We'll have our hands full working to try to minimize the things that they do in the run game with their collection of backs, and Cook being foremost in that. In the passing game, Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Kincaid, Cook, they have a lot of options, and Josh Allen does a really nice job of spreading the ball around to those options. You can work to destroy the natural rhythm in which they operate, but a strength of his game is ad-libbing and extending plays. And so, certainly we want to throw off the rhythm of the things that it is that they do, but it creates another set of issues for you defensively as he utilizes his talent to extend plays and to maybe run, to throw. He sees the full field as plays get extended. It's just a real challenge. And obviously, we've had our challenges, particularly in the interior portions of our defense over the second half of the season as attrition has set in terms of matching up on tight end-like bodies, particularly in situations. And so they got a formidable tight end tandem that's going to have more of our attention, particularly as we get into the week and start looking at elements of situational play, because that's been an issue for us. And if you're not making people settle for field goals in January, you're not going to be in the tournament very long. And so those are some of the things that kind of have our attention on that side. Focusing on Buffalo's defense, man, they have unbelievable talent and depth up front. What they've invested in their front and the quality of that investment is very evident when you watch tape. They had a formidable group, man, going into last summer. They added to that group with Leonard Floyd, and I think he's added 10.5 for them. They did long contract business with Oliver. He's got 9.5. Some of the other young guys, some of the young edge dynamic guys they've drafted, and you're watching them develop in all the appropriate ways and impact games in dynamic ways, whether it's sack fumbles, or tip passes. You got to be really careful in terms of the screen game, perimeter passing, and so forth. Their dynamic edge group, man, get their hands on a lot of balls and create havoc in that way. And so that has our attention. Obviously, environmentally, it has our attention when you're talking about quality rushmen in the front like that. If we get one-dimensional in an environment like that, if we get behind the chains in an environment like that, they have the type of group that can really provide splash. And so we better do a good job of not being highly penalized, not having a lot of negativity in what it is that we do. And those are some of the main ways that you stay on schedule and minimize one-dimensional opportunities for a collective like that. And we better do a really nice job of doing so. We also just better do a nice job of being thoughtful in one-dimensional passing moments to make sure that we're not creating an environment where they can provide a wave that the Bills ride. Just got a lot of respect for their front. Their secondary, they've got awesome continuity, particularly in the interior portions of their secondary. Johnson, Poirier, and Hyde, man, it seems like they've been back there together for over, half a decade or so. That continuity is evident in how they adjust, how they communicate, how they minimize explosion plays in the run and in the pass. They do a nice job of corralling the ball and keeping a lid on it. They're dynamic playmakers, blitzers, tacklers, coverage people. Taylor Rapp has been an awesome addition to him. He's a guy that's starter capable. They get in dime packages on possession downs. They play all three of those safeties. Dynamic bunch. They lead a turnover culture that's displayed in their ball awareness and production in that area. They punch balls out. They rake balls out. They're very ball aware. There's a lot of spot drop zone coverages. They have vision to break. They do a nice job of reading and reacting to quarterbacks and getting multiple people to the action. They play well as a collective. Again, continuity is a component of that. And obviously, Sean McDermott's been there for a number of years now, and that's kind of displayed in the high floor, but also just the splash play capabilities within the group as well. And so there's a lot to be excited about from a challenge perspective, venue, life without TJ. And obviously, playing without TJ is significant. But to be quite honest with you, we've played without a lot of people this year. It's just another opportunity for us to strike a blow for team and to display what team really means, a collective of individuals that work together in an effort to produce an outcome. It's not going to be a one-man job in terms of replacing TJ, just like I stood before you and said similar things when Cam Hayward missed a block of games. It is going to be a committed approach. Even in doing so, we better strengthen our output in other areas because TJ is one of a kind. But that's ball. There's an attrition component to it. That's what makes it the ultimate team game. I'm excited about preparing this group, knowing on the front end of this week the resources at our disposal, the manpower, the talents, the amount of time and so forth. And now we get an opportunity to prepare and lean in on some legitimate action. And so excited about that. Got big days ahead of us. Got a big day ahead of us the rest of the day from a planning perspective. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Mike, what have you seen during these past three games that you like that you can carry over or would like to carry over into the postseason?
You know, just smiling in the face of adversity. There have been some hot moments over the last 3 weeks. We've essentially kind of been in the playoffs. We've known that. That's been something that's been the elephant in the room that we've talked about, and hopefully that experience shows that urgency, that consistency of urgency shows in our play.
Mike, in terms of the offseason, even going in throughout this season, you guys added a lot of veteran players over the course of as depth pieces. You've always preached the next man up mentality, but is it different, that mentality different when you know what you're going to get, you have a better idea what you're going to get out of those veteran guys?
I think our mentality has always been the same. There's a fine line between being a backup and a Pro Bowl caliber player at this level. We were talking about it in here last week, you know. What you're looking at is the best of the best, the top of the food chain in this sport. And so I don't think any of us are surprised when someone given an opportunity plays and plays well.
How is your depth different now at outside linebacker than maybe in previous times when you haven't had TJ?
You know, it hadn't been a lot of times where I think about not having TJ, to be quite honest with you. But we've got depth at that position. That's why we went out and thoughtfully acquired Marcus Golden. That's why we drafted Herbig. We're as deep at that position as we've been in some time. We're comfortable with the quality of depth. Johnson has had a helmet for the last number of weeks, although his contributions have been primarily on special teams. There's another guy at the position that knows what to do that's available to us. And so we have an appropriate number of people. We have guys that are capable. We have guys that have been here. We have guys that know what to do. So we're going to utilize all of that.
That depth, that committee approach that you referenced in your opening remarks, do you lean into those other outside linebackers and the guys up front, or are you potentially going to be able to get more now that you get KZ and potentially Minka back to blitz and be more creative from that aspect of your defense?
It'll be a mix of all of the above. As I mentioned, you got a few lines in the water when you're trying to replace the impact of a guy like TJ.
Mike, When you look at Nick Herbig, what has he shown you, especially over the last 3 weeks, that tells you he's ready for this moment to step in and help out?
Not a lot defensively. He's just been a core special teams player, but it's beyond the last 3 weeks. He works every day. He's gotten better over the course of the journey that is the season.
Mike, I'm not sure anyone would imagine at the start of the season Mason Rudolph would be starting a playoff game for you. What stands out about the way he's made the most of his opportunity to put himself in this spot?
I've said this repeatedly when asked about him. He has an unflappable confidence in himself. He's highly professional. He's always preparing and prepared. And I think that provides the platform of the performances that you're seeing.
Mike, you mentioned the elements in Baltimore. You guys may face some more in Buffalo on Sunday. How much does coming off a game with elements help going into this one?
I don't know that it does. We'll deal with it when we get to Buffalo. Whatever conditions we deal with, they will be dealing with as well. And so from that perspective, it'll be fair.
Mike, I just want to go back to the Baltimore game. How heady, how smart, how instinctive was that play by Igwebuike on the kickoff to do?
He did it, and I'm thankful that he did it, but those are procedural things that we work all the time. We'd have probably been hacked off had he not done it, to be quite honest with you. Probably you get more attention when you don't do it. Gunner was in one of them circumstances earlier in the season, and we were probably hacked off that he didn't. It's just, procedural things that you go through in terms of preparedness that's professional. And I credit him for being professional, but you guys act like he did a stupid human trick. He was just a professional.
Mike, after that game, Mason mentioned he went up to George and said he was proud of him after knocking a lot of touches, showing good sportsmanship. What have you seen?
Who did you refer to?
Mason went up to George Pickens after the game and said that. What have you seen out of George in such a short time span when it comes to his growth?
I hadn't really been looking for it of late, if that's what you're referring to. These are weighty moments. We got to play and play to win. He's done that, and we need more of that from him this week.
When teams want to take George out like last week, do you just accept that and it says other guys have to step up, or is there something you can do to help George?
We've dealt with that a lot over the years, having dynamic receivers, and when people make a commitment to minimize someone in that way, it creates big-time opportunities for others, whether it's your yards per tote in the run game or one-on-one opportunities at other places. And I think both were evident throughout the game and probably would have been more evident if it wasn't for the weather circumstances. And so that's just football at this level. We don't have any control over what others do. We have an opportunity to respond to it or anticipate it. That's a tactic that's not new to us or new to him. We're pretty comfortable in dealing with it. And really probably some of the growth in the run game can be attributed to it. But that's the collective that is team. People are going to load up to minimize our run game. It's going to create one-on-one opportunities for receivers, for example. And so the strength is in the collective. We got to be balanced. We got to be capable of anticipating tactics that people might use and responding to tactics that people use, and we can and do both.
You talked a lot about Mason and his confidence and that kind of thing, but when you go 18-20 in a monsoon, I'm assuming you got to be throwing the ball well, not just confident in what you're doing. What have you seen from his skill set that is shining through recently?
He's making good decisions, but he's working hard from a preparation standpoint, and that preparedness is showing. There's a cumulative body of work to speak of, too. Mason's been here a long time, and I think that's a component of it, and I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that component of it as well.
You guys speaking on the growth of the run game, you guys seem to be getting your offensive tackles to the second level more consistently game after game. What goes into the work of guys like the pulling guards, the tight ends that are using wham blocks to create more opportunities like that, but with different looks?
It's just schematics. We got things that we do, obviously. What we choose to highlight week in and week out is dependent on the matchup, whether it's the schematic component of the matchup or the personnel component of the matchup. And that's what we're doing on the front side of weeks like this. We're deciding what within our arsenal we choose to highlight based on those variables, and that's kind of the process for us. And so we've had some opportunity in recent weeks to do some of the things that you mentioned.
Mike, what is it about Najee that he's able to come on as strong as he has in the last couple weeks of the season?
He's a big back. We value big backs here in Pittsburgh. The attrition component that is the season, the weather component, is just teed up for guys with skill sets like his.
Mike, back to Mason. How have you seen some of the guys on offense responding to what he's provided you guys offensively this stretch?
You know, I'll let them speak to that. I've got real tangible things to be concerned about, the strategic component of it. I'll let them speak for themselves in that regard.
Part of Mason, the early in the game of the third down where the safeties of the Ravens seemed to be focused on your interior receivers, and it seemed to be that was a similar look that led to the Deontay Johnson touchdown. What can you say about Mason's ability to adapt in game to what opponents have been doing to you guys?
That's just football. That happens each and every week through possession down play. You build your plan off of things that have transpired earlier in possession down play or what have you. That's occurring on both sides. That's just football.
Have you seen, with the increased usage of Jalen, that benefiting Najee later in the season these last couple of years?
You know, I don't know that it affects Najee at all, man. Najee has a mindset. He's going to be ready to play for us. He wants to be a significant component of what we do. He's been in circumstances where he's had crowded backfields before. He played running back at Alabama. And so I think, you know, things that go on regarding Jalen and his usage and things of that nature has very little effect on Naj and his mindset and his readiness and preparedness and what he's willing and capable of doing for us.
The logjam at safety is moving Patrick Peterson back to corner, something you're looking at, and what goes into that decision?
That's an option. It hadn't been an option in recent weeks, but it is an option this week.
Mike, you have a number of starters that will be playing in their first playoff game. Is there anything you do or say differently to prepare them for that moment?
No, man. It's got to be a first time for everything, and so I'll be excited about doing it with them.
Like, roller coaster of a season, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. What does it say about this team as a collective group being able to get to this point?
We're not worried about that, to be honest with you. We're worried about what we do at this point. We're living it as opposed to writing it. And so I don't know that we spend a lot of time reflecting in that way.
I think Mason's already up to 3 scoring plays over 60 yards. You talked about the decision-making component, about when to take those calculated chances. What about the ball placement on some of those throws, too? How much has that led into the ability for catch and run for those guys, too?
You know, we've talked about that as well. You know, he's got deep ball capabilities. It's an asset to his game. And that was one of the reasons why we went to him. And the last 3 weeks have just been evidence of some of the things that we've been talking about in here. I don't know that the narrative changes at all. It's just confirmation of some of the things that we've been talking about.
When you look at Josh Allen, top of the league in both touchdowns but also interceptions, is there any general formula to turn him over or help your chances in doing so?
You know, I'm sure everybody works week in and week out in that vein, but he's a competitor. Sometimes what is a blessing can be a curse, but I'm sure that they don't mind managing that. Because, as you mentioned, the positive components of it. I just got a lot of respect for him. We've competed against him a bunch. We better be ready to play.
Mike, how is he a different type of runner, say, than Lamar in terms of defending him?
You know, they're different. They're different athletes. They're similar in that both teams are willing to utilize schematics to highlight their talents. Design runs on third down, design runs from a quarterback perspective in the red area. But they're their own men in terms of how they play the game, how they utilize their talents in an effort to win, how they utilize their talents in an effort to extend plays and create splash when there seemingly is none. I hadn't spent a lot of time comparing them. I just spent a lot of time appreciating what he is and what we need to do to minimize him.
Mike, what does Stefon Diggs do that Joey and Patrick and whoever's going to cover him are going to have to focus on to limit him?
He is an elite route runner. He's an elite route runner. He is one of the best, if not the best. I remember when he came into the league, I was just really shocked by the maturity of his route running. When I saw that Keenan McCardell coached him at the University of Maryland, it made sense because I worked with Keenan years ago, man. Keenan was an elite route runner. And the spirit in which he approaches his craft is very similar. It's like, I imagine that there's depth to that relationship. Got a lot of respect for him.
Mike, Sam Marlowe seems like a no-nonsense type of player. How beneficial do you think his personality has been to the unit, or has it?
Again, I'll let the team speak for that. I appreciate his availability, his professionalism, his preparedness, and then ultimately his play. He brings a no-nonsense blue-collar approach, man, and when you're in my position, you value guys like that. You know you can count on them, and he's definitively been that.
Like, how do you balance infusing Minka and KZ back into the defense, knowing that you guys went 3-0 with Rowe and Pappy?
Thoughtfully.
Done a lot of James Cook for them recently. How does the more usage for him and the running game in general change the dynamic for them on offense?
You know, they're probably better equipped to answer that than myself. I'm just prepared for what they're capable of. His talents are significant. He's a dangerous guy. I was at his pro day. I'm not necessarily surprised by the things that I see from him. It's in line with his skill set.
Anyone else?
My question on the depth chart, I know Kenny Pickett's still listed as the first quarterback there. Why aren't you ready to maybe commit to Mason at that spot whenever Mitch and Mason switched earlier this season?
I'm sorry, what's your question again?
Why isn't Mason listed as the first quarterback with Kenny healthy?
Would it make you feel better if I did? We're going about our business cultivating a plan to win this week. We care less about division of labor in terms of what's on pieces of paper and depth charts and so forth, and more strategically how we utilize the tools at our disposal in the effort to secure victory. I've been transparent with you guys. He's got the hot hand. He's going to maintain control of the ball. I don't know why that is an issue, to be quite honest with you.
Anyone else?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin. And the key, there are a lot of keys of that press conference today. Missy Matthews joins us right here. Missy, I mean, the big thing is we knew that TJ Watt was not going to play, and the big question would be how do they compensate for that? They've done a good job doing it on the inside with their linebackers. They've done it with their safeties. They've had to reposition guys. But this is a different kind of player here, and this is the best player in the league defensively. At least I think we believe that. How do you compensate for that?
Should be Defensive Player of the Year. We'll start there. But the Steelers are 1-10 without TJ. We went through this when he dealt with that injury that took him out a number of games, specifically last year. And it's not a one-person job. It's by committee. Coach referenced, kind of when Cam Hayward went out and what they had to do to replace him for those 6 games when he had that groin injury. But, it's going to be interesting, I think, getting DeMonte KZ back, possibly Minka Fitzpatrick. That's also going to give some different guys maybe some different roles or possibilities of how they're going to attack Josh Allen in this Bills offense. But it's not great that he's out, especially when you make it into the tournament. And we've seen Marcus Golden and Nick Herbig stepping up. So that's good to see that you have the depth there that maybe we felt like we were losing as inside linebacker after inside linebacker kept going down.
Yeah, I think they're much better off with those two guys than they've been in previous years because Herbig has shown every time he gets in there, he makes things happen. And the fact that TJ Watt has taken him under his wing as a fellow Wisconsin player, I think helps. And Marcus Golden is a professional too. He'll probably get the start, I would imagine. But man, Herbig is a guy that if you look at the number of snaps he's gotten and what he's done with those snaps, that's hard. That's hard to come into a game and immediately make an impact. And we saw one of those, hat trick sacks that he had, strip sacks. He's capable.
Yeah, that one in Seattle. I mean, he's a core special teams guy as a rookie, but as you said, getting a chance to learn under TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Marcus Golden, it's a great thing for him. And we've seen the limited snaps that he has gotten, being able to put it to good use. It's, I can't remember what game it was earlier in the season where he got his first sack and Coach Tomlin's on the sideline going, who else has a younger brother? Just the mentality that he brings. So it's, hey, put your hand in the pile, all guys, hands on deck, and you want to see if you can win in Buffalo and see where you go next.
And there is number 51 in action against Geno Smith in Seattle. And that play there, he got all 3 of them. He just came in, worked himself around, ducked under. I mean, he's got the speed part of the game. He also has, I think, the technique for a rookie. And he's quick to get his hand out there to try to knock balls away. And he did it on this play. So, those kind of things. Josh Allen has not been one of those quarterbacks who stays away from mistakes. He can make them. I think he's confident enough to overcome them. He showed that this week in Miami. But he has been a turnover machine at times. Somehow they got to figure out a way to do that in this game.
Yeah, and I think, the weather is going to probably play a factor again, just like it did in Baltimore. I think for both teams, it's going to be playing mistake sack-free football. And if you can ball search and get one out and do what Nick Herbig did, or however you want to see it happen, Larry Ogunjobi against the Ravens, that's what it's probably going to take, and taking care of the football.
All right, Missy and I will be back after a break. We'll talk about Mason Rudolph. He is the, quote, hot hand, and will continue to ride the quarterback position. We'll get into that and some of the things the Bills have done well that the Steelers are going to really have to try to neutralize. It's all coming up as we continue on the Mike Tomlin press conference right here on KDKA Plus and Steeler digital platforms. Don't go away.
Gear up with game day necessities at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline gear, jerseys, terrible towels, memorabilia, and custom exclusives directly from the team. You can also gear up online at shop.steelers.com.
For a while there, at least early in the game, it looked like even when you were running off the field, you weren't moving it too much.
Oh, it's just got me locked in. Yeah. But, man, look, man, that's the sport we play. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not letting no player or coach or this organization down or the city of Pittsburgh down. If I can go, I'm going. You know, and like I told you guys when the growing happened, look, when y'all watch the film, if I did something bad, quote me off being 100% healthy. Don't take nothing off me, because that's the type of mindset I come into the games. If I say I'm playing, and what you get is what you get, you know. And at the end of the day, me playing was just based off, this is my family, and I'm always do whatever it takes. But at the same time, I'm not going to put the team in a bad situation with just wanting to be a tough guy.
How about the way you guys played? I mean, despite the conditions defensively, really, they didn't do much except for a couple of plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a good team ball. You know, we did a good job of getting off the field quick. You know, we had a few 3-and-outs, and so that's something that we've just kind of been preaching on and harping on, is just getting off the ball, just getting off the field and really quickly and getting the ball back to our offense. So I feel like we did a good job of that tonight.
Alex, you've been involved in a lot of these now. Always seems like they're like this.
Yeah.
Field position game, every possession's magnified. It doesn't even matter who they got playing, who you guys got playing. Yeah. It's always that. You appreciate that?
I mean, it's Steelers Ravens. Every game I've been in has been, I think this might have been the biggest margin of victory since I've been here. 4 years.
17-10 early in the season.
Oh yeah. Besides, I mean, this year, I mean, I think 7 points is the biggest margin. So every one of these games is tight, and we know the type of game that we play when we play against them is a physical, hard-fought game.
Going and just really manhandling those guys up front.
Yeah, you know, we always want to run the ball. That weather's not ideal though. You know, I'm from the South home, like the rain and it's wet it was a lot, but you know, just being able to overcome that, it was pretty good.
Broderick, are you proud of winning the last 3 games and giving yourself a chance, or is there some lingering frustration about the Cardinal game and the Patriots game and the Colts game?
You know, we just trying. Like for me, I just know I don't try and dwell on the past for too long. It's always about the next one, getting the next one. So you know, just getting those 3, it was big for us. So now it gave us a shot to get in, and you know, we just pray and hope for the best.
Experience the legacy of the Steelers like never before. Step into the Steelers Hall of Honor Museum at Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of Steelers history, rare artifacts, and interactive exhibits. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
At the quarterback position, we'll stay with Mason Rudolph, much like in the spirit in which we worked a week ago. We're just simply staying with the hot hand and not disrupting the apple cart. We've been in some tough circumstances. He's delivered, we've delivered, and so we will continue in that vein.
So Mike Tomlin sticks with the hot hand, and why not? Mason Rudolph has won 3 in a row as a starter here. He's made some big throws at big times, and the run game has certainly come to life, and you can argue it was the run game that's helped him or his deep pass ability to help the run game. One quick note, just because we see here that Adam Schefter is reporting that Mike Vrabel has been fired in Tennessee, but not before he gave the Steelers the biggest gift he could give them before he left. So once a Steeler, always a Steeler, I suppose.
Yeah, he was pretty fired up heading into that game. I think a lot of questions about his future and the team's heading into that game against Jacksonville, but they delivered, and luckily it was the 1 o'clock game that we all watched on pins and needles, but then still had to watch the Sunday night game to see who the Steelers were playing.
Yeah, but the division mark the last couple of years has not been good for Vrabel. Had some quarterback issues, of course, down there, and that seems to be a problem with a lot of teams these days. But right now, not here for the Steelers. Mason Rudolph just seems composed. I really think Mike Tomlin hit upon all the things that makes him click, but I think the one thing is the experience of being in the system for so long. He's been here, understands it. Maybe he was thrown into a little too quickly, had a rough first season with all the injuries and the Myles Garrett helmet to the face and all this stuff, but he seems to have really brought a confidence and a poise in that pocket.
Yeah, I mean, 2018 was a wild season for everybody, him included. It's all the things you mentioned, that Thursday night game in Cleveland, even the Jets game where they had a chance to win. He broke his collarbone when he was inserted back into the starting role for quarterback. They almost made the playoffs, which was crazy. And then, you're still behind Ben for a number of years. Didn't have a quarterback's coach at first when he was drafted by the Steelers, and you just see the confidence. He's not turning the ball over. He, as you said, is able to help the run game and vice versa, and they're playing good football and what they need to do in terms of controlling the line of scrimmage and giving the defense a breather. The defense that's dealing with so many injuries and has been, it feels like, since week 4 or 5.
And that's going to be a key to this game. Make sure they're on the field, dominate the time of possession if they can, and keep Josh Allen off the field. Getting back to what you said, I agree. That Jets game, I thought that was his best game, because he was throwing a ball down the field with confidence, and then boom, he gets another injury in that game. And I wonder what would have happened had that not happened, because didn't you think that was one of his best games of his season?
Yeah, I mean, especially after, I remember the game in Cincinnati where he got pulled at halftime or halfway through the second half, I don't remember exactly where, and Duck went back in. It was just one of those crazy seasons, and Duck was actually the one that started against the Bills that Sunday night game in Pittsburgh. But yeah, they ended up going back to me and then breaking your collarbone. I mean, just the amount of things that he dealt with that season, it's crazy, but he's getting an opportunity, he's getting a chance, and he's making the most of it. You can't say any less than that.
No, and the thing is, you see those deep throws. I happen to think when you do that, defenses know then that you cannot put 8 guys in a box. You can't look to stop their run first, because you do expose one-on-one opportunities, and George Pickens seems to thrive in those. He didn't get many chances in Baltimore, although they obviously tried to take him out of the game, but also the weather had a lot to do with that. But Deontay Johnson shows you that you get an opportunity, you can do it. So one helps the other. I don't know which helps the other first, but the run game has been terrific, though, right? Over the last 3 games, their offensive line has surged, and they're just pounding the football. I think that travels well in playoffs.
Absolutely, and even going back to the Seattle game at the end, they clearly thought they were going to run the ball there. He, dumps it off to Pickens, able to get the first down. And I think the Deontay play, as you said, in Baltimore, just one of those plays. They said they practiced it all week. They knew exactly what they were doing when they got the look that they wanted, and it was a perfect throw, perfect catch, and he, took it to the house.
Yes, he did. And 71 yards later, that's the big play of the game. But I can't say enough about this offensive line. Broderick Jones, Missy, when he was inserted, seemed to give them a bully aspect. He's a really mean competitor over there. And then you got a guy like Sayamalu, who, according to all the stats, hasn't given up a sack all year. A professional who knows how to get it done. They've been healthy. That's one thing about this offensive line the last couple of years.
Better knock on wood, Pop.
Well, I know, but it's true. It has been true, and they haven't really had to go to any. And the tight ends have factored in on this. I think Washington's a good blocker. So this kind of stuff, again, makes it tough on a defense. And if you're Buffalo, they're a nickel defense primarily, which means they're looking to stop you in the pass game, and they have 3 great safeties and people who can do that. But up front, I think they could be had there if you have that kind of offensive line surge.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said about Broderick Jones, Coach Tomlin told Bob Labriola on his pregame show for Steelers Radio Network that he has some Marquise Pouncey in him. And when I heard that, I kind of laughed, because it's so true. You see it after plays. Cam Hayward says sometimes, we have to get him off the field because he just keeps talking and letting guys know. But it has coincided with the run game coming to life for the Steelers, him being inserted into the starting lineup. So it's been good to see, as you said, and the 3 tight end set, I think, is helping as well. And that position group seems to be taking on that mentality of being physical and blocking and helping, and they just really enjoy it too.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll shift over to the Steelers defense, which has a daunting assignment, stopping Josh Allen and some talented receivers. We'll talk about what they have to do minus TJ Watt. It's all coming up as we continue right here at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on the South Side. We'll be back in a flash.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
For the conditions out there today in terms of getting done what you guys needed to do?
Yeah, it was probably the most challenging, weather I've had to deal with in my career. But man, so proud of, for the most part, took care of the ball. And I put one on the ground, Jalen, but we were able to recover the one at the end, which was huge. Broderick did a great job, and so just proud of the way we ran the ball up front. I mean, we thought we controlled the line of scrimmage pretty darn well, and we knew we were going to have to, ride the wave of our offensive line, and they paved the way for us.
Mason, you talked about reading safeties the other day, just as a general rule of thumb. Did you see something before the pass to Deontay or post-snap, or was that where you were going all along?
They took Pat away. They did a good job of taking him away anywhere with the ball. They were dropping a defensive lineman or just hugging him immediately with the linebacker, and so it was sort of I'm not going to get into the read, but it was Deontay was a big part of the read, and they took Pat away, and so the ball went to him, and man, he did a great job after the catch and split those guys and ran fast like he always does and scored. I was so happy for him.
In terms of that play, I mean, he come out of it had kind of been a field position battle at that point into the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter there. You come out and you hit that play. Was there kind of a little bit of a weight lifted off there with that?
Absolutely. I mean, back and forth, it was a punting match there in the third quarter for a while. And I don't know, did we score there early in the fourth or late in the third?
First play
of the fourth. So third quarter was, a little sloppy.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
Playing without TJ is significant, but to be quite honest with you, we've played without a lot of people this year. It's just another opportunity for us to strike a blow for team and to display what team really means, a collective of individuals that work together in an effort to produce an outcome. It's not going to be a one-man job in terms of replacing TJ, just like I stood before you and said similar things when Cam Hayward missed a block of games. It is going to be a committed approach.
It's going to have to be, because you're talking about the defensive player of the year, at least in our eyes here, based on what he's done. And, that's great that the Steelers have been able to, plug guys in, guys who've been, quote, off the couch coming into the system. But this is a different situation here. And I would imagine that Josh Allen and company are going to try to do what they can to, target the middle of the field. They have two very good tight ends. TJ Watt, the thing about him, he's not just one man or one trick pony, as Mike Tomlin likes to say. He can do so many things, including drop back into coverage and disrupt pass plays. So this is going to be a big assignment, unlike some of the other losses I think we've seen.
Or meet a running back before he even gets to take his first step. We've just seen the crazy things that he does, even going back to the year that TJ signed his big extension. Wasn't really doing much in training camp, heading into the preseason as well. And then you go to Buffalo week 1, he just went completely off. A lot of questions, is he going to be in playing shape? And he proved that contract was worth it. They came away with the upset. And I think too, special teams is going to play a factor as well. We saw what it did for the Bills in their game and their win against Miami. But also Mouse Killebrew, we've seen it happen in that stadium before. And just, I think, it's one of the, I don't know. Everyone thinks the Steelers are going to get blown out when you look at the national perspective, and obviously if you look at the line, but I just think that they've been playing so well and they do have the recipe for success. It's just a matter of executing it.
Yeah, and the real wild card here, Missy, is the weather. You know, I know a lot of weather people at our station. I consult with Ray Petlin quite a bit, and I wonder, there are all these models about what might happen, what could happen. One thing I think that's consistent with all the models, I'm not trying to play a weatherman on TV, by the way. We are winds aloft coming in. But wind is going to be present, regardless of the precipitation. But if it's snow versus, you know, you don't want rain. You were down there last week. That's a terrible thing to play in. The balls get too slippery. It can happen the same in the snow. But that's going to dictate, I think, you know, what kind of offensive philosophy both teams have in this game.
I think, though, regardless, you're going to want to run the ball. You're going to want to.
That's been their strength.
Yeah. And for both teams, I mean, we've seen even just Josh Allen running the ball, the design QB runs that he uses. Mike Tomlin mentioned his 15 rushing touchdowns. I just think that it's going to be a key either way, but it does look like no matter what, it's going to be some sort of weather that's not great, but it's Buffalo, it's January. It's not like this is unexpected. It's September and snowing.
No, it's snow globe football. People love it. They'll tune in just for that part of it as well. But yeah, I think the offensive line play and just not turning the ball over, that's going to be a key to this one. Let's talk about the Steeler running back situation, because they, 1-2 punch all season long, although most recently it's been the physical component of Najee Harris, what he's been able to do. And when he runs between the tackles and when they get little openings, he may not always hit the holes that are present, but he'll create them by running over you and stiff arming you. And I think those two together, whatever the case may be, one day it's Jaylen Warren getting as many carries, another time it's Harris, like we saw this past week, who got the lion's share of them.
Yeah, and I think even just Najee carrying guys with him as he continues to get more yardage to get into the end zone. We've seen it from Jaylen as well, even just how he blocks for other guys. And I think they've both really just come into their own and have reached something in terms of being an answer for the Steelers offense, somebody that they can lean on, the run game in particular. And, Najee, after the game in Baltimore, I loved what he said. They were asking about running the ball and the weather, and he's like, look, we were going to be as physical as we possibly could so that they wanted to take their starters out of the game because they were afraid somebody was going to get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. On the other side of it, too, the Steelers, and you heard Mike Tomlin talk about Stefon Diggs. He used the word elite 3 different times.
Probably more than 3.
Maybe, yeah, I counted 3, but there could have been more. But he is going to be that guy who can do things that a lot of other receivers cannot do. And I would imagine Joey Porter Jr. is going to try to have that matchup. But I think it may take more than just him. They're going to move Pat Pete maybe back to corner, given the situation with KZ now being back and Minka possibly being back. That helps them. But that's the kind of guy that you have to really give the George Pickens treatment to if you're the Steelers.
Oh, yeah, and just think about Joey Porter Jr.'s rookie season when he finally became starter, just the wideouts that he has had a chance to go against. And he's always up for the challenge, the opportunity. We've heard how the first time he asked for it. I think, too, one of the things Coach mentioned earlier in the press conference was that there's going to be an inclusion of as many bodies as helmets as possible of guys who are active. And even when he was asked about Mika Fitzpatrick and DeMonte KZ coming back with the success that they've seen from Eric Rowe and them, it's thoughtfully figuring out how to use guys and what to do. So that is a strength now for them, that if they can get those 2 guys back, they already have some guys that have been playing well. And if Pat Pete goes back to corner, that helps as well.
Certainly does. And it's going to be a very intriguing matchup. You'll see it live on KDK TV on Sunday. We will take a break, come back with more of the Mike Tomlin press conference show right here on KDK Plus and Steeler digital platforms.
Gear up with game day necessities at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline gear, jerseys, terrible towels, memorabilia, and custom exclusives directly from the team. You can also gear up online at shop.steelers.com.
Yeah. Just trying to stack wins. Understand that we needed this game to help our fate. But excited for the guys. Battle. Wasn't easy. It's never easy when you come to this place, no matter who's out there. But proud of the guys. Gutted out that win. And, we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, do you have more of a sense of satisfaction for these last 3 games, or is there a twinge of regret for the 3 that preceded? the winning streak?
Satisfaction. Proud of the guys. We'll just keep battling back. In my mind, we're going to have another one. Keep stacking.
Cam, a couple weeks ago, you were wearing the Believe shirt. Now you're wearing We Do Not Care. What was the reasoning in going with this one today?
It's a Mike T shirt, he's got a quote for everything. Just shutting out all the outside noise and understanding that we just need to get the job done. We could have been written off a long time ago, but the group held it together, and we're able to find ways to win these last 3 weeks.
What are these next 24 hours going to be for you?
Recovery, getting ready for the next game.
Did it seem iffy to you at all today? I mean, at halftime, they had the momentum, they were getting the ball back.
7-7 at half. Obviously we had some chances to, take the lead into the second half, but I felt like as a defense, we knew we needed to get it off the field. Couldn't surrender really any points, and in these type of weather inclement games, you gotta get off the field quick. You gotta provide short fields for our offense. And I just thought we did a good job of, keep bouncing back. TJ went down in the third or fourth, and guys stepped up. A guy like Eric Rowe, man, I don't know how he wasn't on a damn team. Man, that dude is just balled out, and we've needed every bit of it. Mark Robb getting the sack to start the game.
Experience the legacy of the Steelers like never before. Step into the Steelers Hall of Honor Museum at Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of Steelers history, rare artifacts, and interactive exhibits. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
They're similar in that both teams are willing to utilize schematics to highlight their talents. Design runs on third down, design runs from a quarterback perspective in the red area. But they're their own men in terms of how they play the game, how they utilize their talents in an effort to win, how they utilize their talents in an effort to extend plays and create splash when there seemingly is none. I hadn't spent a lot of time comparing them. I just spent a lot of time appreciating what he is and what we need to do to minimize him.
That's Mike Tomlin talking about the comparisons between Lamar Jackson, who they see quite a bit, versus Josh Allen. They've seen him too, but both guys do run. It's a different kind of running. And, Josh Allen is not afraid to lower his head, and I'm sure everyone in Bill's Mafia, when he does that, say, no, don't do that. You don't want to get knocked out of the game. But he is that kind of runner. He wants to deliver a blow.
Right. He's not going to slide. You have to tackle him is
Right.
kind of how Coach put it in terms of what he brings and just, his size and what he likes to do. But it is something they have to take account for. I think, knowing that they know how to play Lamar, they see him twice a year usually, not this year and a few other years, I guess we could say. But as you said, they are different. Not the same, but they still do similar things. And obviously you have to account for that.
Yeah, and the thing about him, he had a play in that Miami game, which you're watching here right now, that was a 3rd and 13. And it's such a deflating play if you're Miami. You think you have them back on their heels. Everybody's covered in the secondary. And then all of a sudden, here it is. This is the play. He just tucks it away, and he gets first down. And the next thing you know, game's pretty much over. You think you have him in a punt formation, not to be. And that's what the Steelers have to avoid in this game.
And I think that will be good if they do get Mika Fitzpatrick back, to have him just there and knowing how he's that vocal leader as well of making sure other guys are set too.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and we'll look at the playoff road ahead. That's coming up right here on the Mike Tomlin Press Conference Show.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
We knew that going into the game. Well, we knew the weather report. We knew exactly what type of game it was going to be, physical, like always, though. But yeah, man, we knew it was going to be this type of game. So leaning more on positionally specific, us running backs knew that it's going to lean on us more than any other game. So yeah, we knew.
That's how you feel about getting to 10-7.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The team getting to 10-7 collectively, how you feel about that?
Man, it's good. This is since I've been in the league, my first 10 win year, I guess. 10 wins in a year. I think was 8-7 last year, right? And then 9-7 my rookie year or something like that. 9-7-1. So I mean, it's good. I wish I can take back some games that we lost and we could have had a better record. But to hit 10 wins is good for the team. Not only that, but for Mike T. Just a good coach and how he's been carrying us along this whole year. I think that it really shows. Him basically just showing how resilient and how calm he always be, even when stuff looks bad and it's a lot of negative stuff being said. He always just stays the same person. And man, so I'm happy for Mike T and the team.
Did you know, I'm sorry if somebody asked, did you know that they were going to kind of put the team on your shoulders? And when that happens, you welcome that? Do you look forward to that?
Yeah, man. It's not the first time that's happened, but yeah, man. Going into the game, like I said, the week of, we all talked about it. The biggest thing that we was worried about is not like carrying the team, or would you say, or that. It's just the ball security. As my first play, I tried to tuck it away and it slipped right out my arm. So I knew that was one thing that needs to be emphasized a little bit more. So I went on the sideline. I got like 2 towels. I keep trying to rub my arm.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
All right, we know TJ Watt is out for this weekend in Buffalo. Mika Fitzpatrick, Coach Tomlin, saying will be limited in the early portions of the week, but optimistic that he will be ready to go, which is good news for the Steelers defense. And Landon Roberts, who played in Baltimore, still dealing with that pec injury, so maybe a little time off in practice.
But DeMonte KZ comes back from a suspension, and he's a guy who can create some turnover because of the way he plays. Just got to make sure he doesn't get caught for suspension, even though I thought that was a little bit much on that one. Anyway, let's talk about the playoffs because there's some very intriguing games.
No doubt about it. And obviously we stick more to the AFC. But when you look at these matchups, I think even the Browns and Texans, that one happening first. And then, as we know, because the Bills are playing the Steelers, the Dolphins go to Kansas City. That's the night game. I like a Sunday 1 o'clock game for the Steelers and Bills.
I like CBS written on that screen, too.
Well, there you go. It's a 2-for-1. And then we know that if the Steelers are able to upset the Bills, they'll be heading back to Baltimore, which we've seen this story before.
How about that? And if you want to really go down the road, it could be Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and AFC. Not that I'm going to go that far. First things first, they got to win. And this is a daunting assignment for sure. Flacco versus Stroud. That should be interesting to watch as well. Missy, it's been fun. Thanks.
All right.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.